The Ukrainian war goes on. The Biden administration refuses to publish military expenditure. Boris Johnson pressured Zelensky into continuing to pursue a military agenda. Is anyone going to do anything about this war? Or are they just going to complain about an energy crisis that they're contributing to and possibly even causing? Hello there, you 5.9 million awakening wonders. Thank you for joining me on this voyage towards truth, embracing the complexity of emergent and nuanced realities that are already within us, unfolding beautifully at this time of shifting polarities, at this time of apocalypse, which can mean revelation, but can also mean, as you know, from the old Bible, the end of the world, which could potentially be brought about if our leaders grandstand and say things like they would be willing to use nuclear weapons, as new British Prime Minister Liz Truss has just said. So we have an important situation. We have the Ukrainian war, where we're invited to sympathise, understandably, with the victims and not analyse too deeply the causes of the war and the likely ongoing consequences and ramifications of it. We have a bizarre new revelation that the Biden administration won't be publishing military expenditure at a time when it would seem that transparency would be vital. But let's start with a little look at the new UK leader, Liz Truss, bragging and boasting she will press the button if pressured. There's only one button I want you guys pressing, and that's the notification button. Press it right now in case the algorithm's against us. Now let's see how hard Liz Truss is. Go on, Liz!
You'll be ushered into a room very privately at number 10. Will be laid out in front of you what are called the letters of last resort.
What's this guy's role? Okay, you're going to be ushered into a room at number 10. Excuse me, what? Who are you? I just want to pose to you these three ideas. The ongoing war, the energy crisis, advancing militarism and military grandstanding, and also bear this in mind as well. This week, the State Department announced that the World Military Expenditures and Arms Transfers Report, which has been published for over 50 years, will no longer be produced. As usual, that provision was buried deep inside the National Defence Authorization Act for the financial year 2022. So, there's a few things I want you to consider. Remember, the Ukraine war, change the picture in your bio. The terrible, sad thing. The energy crisis. Why is this war being prolonged? Why is a new leader grandstanding about nukes? And why, all of a sudden, have the US State Department stopped publishing vital figures? Is it because the information in there's so heartwarming they don't want to take us to giddy heights?
Your orders to our Trident boat captain on whether you, Prime Minister Liz Truss, is giving the order to unleash our nuclear weapons.
But this is weird, isn't it? It's that workshop. What's going on here? Right, Liz, now, see here, my lovely. You're Prime Minister now. You're ushered into a room. The atmosphere's electric. God knows how you're paying for that atmosphere. Electricity costs a bomb these days. Now, will you press the old button?
It would mean global annihilation.
I don't think that needs caveating, does it? Sorry, what are nuclear weapons? Oh, God, how did you even get this job?
And I won't ask you, would you press the button? You will say yes. But faced with that task, I would feel physically sick.
He's given us too much personal insight and personal information in what's meant to be just an interview with the Prime Minister, Liz Truss. I would feel aroused. That missile, I'd see it as an atomic skycock. Fucking God in his mind. Right, mate, it's just an interview.
How does that thought make you feel?
I think it's an important duty of the Prime Minister. I'm ready to do that.
Yeah, this is ridiculous grandstanding, yet more theatre. At a time what you need is clarity and transparency. Couple that with the decision not to publish military expenditure and the story that Boris Johnson pressured Zelensky to continue the war when Zelensky was ready to seek a peaceful solution. You have a very peculiar situation emerging.
I think it's an important duty of the Prime Minister. I'm ready to do that.
Bravo, bravo. Not only is that my life, that's my children's life and my grandchildren's life. All of the birds, all of the insects, blades of grass, all gone. Well done, well done. You certainly now don't look like a substitute teacher or a deputy headmistress at a village school. You're a powerful person who's ready to indiscriminately kill people. Well done. Not like old walrus chops over there. That's literally an audience of people applauding their own demise. That's how well we've been trained by the media. That's how embedded these narratives and ideas are. What's in people's mind that you're applauding that? So, press the button. Yes, under certain circumstances, I will destroy civilization. It's not like at the end of an interesting rally between the Williams sisters. Oh, that's good. That's very good. Wow, what can be achieved with all that training and a go-get-em father? This is the annihilation of Earth, of all of our realities.
I asked how it would make you feel.
You're applauding, and we're all happy about the annihilation of planet Earth. But I actually asked how it would make you feel.
I'm ready to do it.
Who cares how she feels anyway? Who cares how a person feels after they've destroyed the planet? If the planet's been destroyed, oh well, never mind that. All that infrastructure, Michelangelo, everything, that's all gone. Everything's gone now. But how do you feel? Let's get to the nub. Never mind all the children that will never be born. History annihilated. Perhaps if you believe that human life only exists on Earth, or, conscious sentient life, the annihilation of the conscious experience and meaning itself. How did you feel about that? Just was a bit worried about it, really. I felt a bit down in the dumps, a bit down in the mouth about it, really. At least the most powerful nation on Earth, the United States of America, aren't concealing how much money they're spending on weapons. Oh no, they are doing that. The elimination of this important program comes as sources say that the United States is virtually unable to track what happens to the military equipment and weapons being sent to Ukraine, ostensibly to fight against Vladimir Putin's invading Russian army. We want clarity, don't we? Just as a general rule, at this time of fracture, conflict and obfuscation, uncertainty and doubt, we would want plain transparency from the government. Also, generally speaking, when people start to conceal things like how much money they're spending on weapons, it's not good news, is it? Oh, you thought we were spending too much money on weapons and setting up armed contracts with Lockheed Martin and Boeing and potentially taking backhanders, did you? Just because people in Congress have investments in Lockheed Martin and Boeing and companies that manufacture. Well, actually, all of that weapons money was being spent on a surprise party for your birthday, and you've ruined it. You're just like your father. Some analysts estimate the true figure of the US commitment to Ukraine is up to $40 billion in security assistance, or $110 million a day over the last year. The relentless stream of funding announcements, in the absence of any public discussion of what the US is doing to seek an end to the conflict, has signalled to critics a recognition that there's no end in sight to the war, and that the US is committed to supporting Ukrainian defence efforts for the long haul rather than pursue a negotiated end to it. Oh my God, it's happening again. It's happening again. Afghanistan, it's happening again. They've just had one forever war. Read a little bit of George Orwell. We've just been through Afghanistan. Why are we doing Afghanistan too? We've only just had the last one. The US is really preparing for a long war. It's actually preparing for endless war in Ukraine, said Stephen Semler, co-founder of the Security Policy Reform Institute. Why would that be? When war is bad, when we all agree that war is bad, when we've seen that it could lead to Armageddon, because Liz Truss, she's up for it, she'll press the button at the first sign of trouble. Why would we be engaged in a dalliance with perpetual destruction, even when we know that the current consequences are negative, let alone the human suffering in Ukraine, the energy consequences, which some people are curious about why it has the particular impact that it's having, but nevertheless it can't be positive. Why would you want a forever war? Is there anybody that benefits from a forever war? Then we can have a clearer perspective, can't we? If we know that there are some people that benefit from a forever war, we can include that into our assessment of the situation, right? Should we do that, or should we not do that? Should we pretend that no one does benefit? The Ukrainian news outlet Ukrainska Pravda reported that British Prime Minister Boris Johnson used his surprise visit to Kiev in April to pressure President Zelensky to cut off peace negotiations with Russia, even after two sides appeared to have made tenuous progress toward a settlement to end the war. Pravda's reporting, along with the public statements of Johnson and other Western leaders, heightened long-standing concerns that the global powers are actively dashing the chances of a diplomatic resolution to Russia's war. The British government has become an obstacle to peace in Ukraine by encouraging the continuation of the war through huge arms shipments and incendiary rhetoric, said Lindsay German, convener of the UK-based Stop the War Coalition. Those bastards, we can't trust the Stop the War Coalition. Who knows what their motives are? Well, we just come together to stop wars. Yeah, you say that. What are you going to use? Mostly arms shipments and incendiary rhetoric. They wouldn't, would they? The US government has pumped more money and weapons into supporting the Ukrainian military than it sent in 2020 to Afghanistan, Israel and Egypt combined, surpassing in a matter of months 3 of the largest recipients of US military aid in history. Just to be clear, in case the algorithm turns against me, and because it's necessary to say so for moral reasons, I'm not saying that war's a good thing, or that Vladimir Putin and his imperialist plans are anything other than nefarious. Putin, I don't know anything about him, but I assume he's like a despotic former KGB leader of the former Soviet Union, has his own agenda, his own objectives, and I imagine if I knew more about them, I would agree that they are tyrannical. All of those things, let's take that as read. The mainstream media are doing a pretty good job, I understand, of reporting on that. What's not being reported on, it seems, though, is that the State Department have stopped revealing how much money they're spending. No one's telling you the extent of public expenditure that ends up in the hands of military contractors. No one's making super clear that all of a sudden Ukraine is getting more money than Israel, Egypt and Afghanistan. And no one is making it clear enough that Boris Johnson pressured Zelensky into prolonging this war. I'm sure there's a counter narrative, oh, he's doing it for the right reasons or whatever. I don't know. You let me know in the comments below. But just letting you know that we're not naive to Putin's malfeasance. Up to half of the $14 trillion spent by the Pentagon since 9/11 went to for-profit defense contractors, a study found. That's trillion. That's that number trillion. That's so many zeros, I can't even imagine them in my mind. But as you remember, around the time of 9/11, none of the people that were in government then had associations or connections to military-industrial complex. There were no shady characters, no shady deals, no confusing contradictions in that narrative. So this $14 trillion, half of which going to defense contractors, that's not like so soldiers can have comfy pillows and nice boots. That's so billionaires can, I don't know what they get up to. It's presumably quite good fun. So there we go. We have an energy crisis. We have an ongoing war that could have been prevented. We have people in charge that are willing to destroy the planet in order to sort of look cool and hard. Is this exactly what you want? Do you think we're on track to find a peaceful solution in Ukraine? Do you think the right politicians, the right diplomats, the right mentality are all in place for a peaceful resolution? Do you think the current energy crisis is going to be brought to a halt? Or, riddle me this, is this energy crisis beneficial to some powerful interests in the world? Could this crisis be used to introduce more regulation, to shut down dissidents? You tell me. You let me know in the comments below. You're more intelligent than we are. Collectively, though, we're very powerful. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these. Remember to sign up to my mailing list so I can keep in regular comms with you about the big moves that we're making. Turn on that notification bell in case the biorhythm's against us and become a subscriber. We're trying to get to 6 million for reasons I don't even fully understand. Stay free.